In this video, we're going to talk about adding integers, combining positive and negative numbers. This is State Standard 7C1. So here we go. When you're adding opposites, in the previous video, when we talked about what integers actually are, we talked about how opposites have the same absolute value. It's just one's to the left side of the zero and the other's to the right side of the zero. Opposites are also called zero pairs because when you put them together, they equal zero. If you think of it like money, if I have $5, but I'm paying $5, I'm going to break even. If I have 14 and I'm paying 14, I'm going to break even. They cancel. They give you zero. So on number one, the negative means I owe. I need to pay $5. I have exactly $5. They cancel. I break even. I get zero. Number two, 14 and negative 14, break even and get zero. Number three, you don't have to always go left to right. Addition's what's called commutative. That means you can go in any order and it's not going to affect your answer. So, for example, on number three, I see an 8 and a negative 8. Those are opposites. They're going to cancel each other out like they don't even exist. So all I have left is that negative 3. Negative 6, 7, 6, negative 7, you can go left to right. Or negative 6 and 6. They cancel out. You break even. 7, negative 7. There's another one of those zero pairs. So I'm left with nothing at all on that problem. Just zero. Now, when you're adding numbers that have the same sign, the real rule says you add the absolute values and you keep the sign. Those rules really aren't tough, but I know that to a middle school student, they sure don't sound very easy breezy. So you can think of it as a number line. Start on 0. If they're positives, you move to the right. If they're negatives, you move to the left. You keep moving in the same direction if they have the same sign, and you just wait to see where you land. Or ask yourself, how many total? If they're all negatives, how many negatives total? If they're all positives, how many positives total? So I wanted to start out with an example of something that we already knew. 4 plus 5. We know that that's 9. But the key is to learn why it's 9. That way, when you get to the negatives, they make a lot more sense. So we know that if you have 4 of something and you have 5 more, you can count them all up like you learned when you were little. You'll discover that you have 9 altogether. Or here's what I mean by the number line. So if I start at 0, these are both positive. Positives, you move to the right. So I'm going to move to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to move to the right 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I landed a positive 9, which, like I said, we already knew. Number 2, this time they're both negative. That rule says find the absolute value. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. The absolute value of negative 8 is 8. Add those together, you get 11, and then you need to keep that negative sign on there. On a number line, negatives, you move left. So I'm going to move left 3 and left 8 more. So here's my 0 going backwards. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, you're going to land on a negative 11. Or I have 3 negatives. I have 8 negatives. So total, I have 11 negatives. I owe one person $3. I owe somebody else $8. So altogether, I owe $11. Number 3, you can do a number line. I'm not going to lie, I'm lazy. I don't want to draw a number line and make 14 and then 11 more and then 5 more intervals. I prefer to think like money. Whether you love it or hate it, we all have experience with money. We all understand how it works. And sometimes putting something more abstract like negative numbers with something more concrete that we know like money will really help a lot if you're struggling. So I owe someone 14. I found out I owe somebody else 11. And dang it, I owe somebody else 5. Altogether, I owe $30. I'm in the hole in my bank account, $30. Negative 30 is my answer. Now, when the signs are different, the real rule, you subtract. The signs are different, you find the difference. You subtract and then you keep the sign of the number that had the larger absolute value. Again, blah. On a number line, start at 0. Move to the right or to the left, depending on what signs your numbers have, and figure out where you land. Or ask yourself, do you have more positives or more negatives? And then ask yourself, how many more? And you've learned since you were little in a word problem, if it says how many more, then you're going to subtract to find your answer. Or again, think like money. Positive is what you have. Negative is what you owe. On number 1, -7 plus 4, if you want to do the number line method, start at 0. My first number is negative. That means go left. So I'm going to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From there, I have a positive 4. So I'm going to move to the right. I'm not going to start at 0. I'm going to start where I just landed. And I'm going to come back to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's where I end up. That's at a -3. Or I have more negatives than positives. I have 7 more negatives than I do positives. If you think like your 0 pairs, let's pretend that the negatives are red and the positives are white. Every time I put a red and a white together, they cancel and give me 0. I could pull out 4 of those pairs, and then I'd have 3 of the reds left over, -3. I owe $7. I only have 4 in my pocket. I don't have enough to pay my bill. I'm short $3. No matter what method you want to use to think about it, it's a -3. Number 2, let's think about that rule for a second. If I find the absolute value of 6 is 6, the absolute value of 1 is 1, I'm going to find the difference, which is 5. And I'm going to keep the sign of the number that had the larger absolute value. 6 had a larger absolute value and it was positive, so it's a +5. I have 5 more positives than I do negatives. I have $6 and I owe you 1. So when I pay you that $1, I still have 5 left over for me. Number 3, you can do the number line, but like I said, I'm lazy. I hate drawing big, long number lines if they're not already there for me. I could pull out 18 0 pairs and I could have 6 negatives left over. Or I owe someone $24. I only have 18 in my account. I don't have enough to pay my bill. I'm going to be $6 short, so -6. Number 4, I owe 19. I have 27. I can pay my $19 bill and still have some money left over. In fact, I would have $8 left over. I have 8 more positives than I do negatives. So my answer is those leftovers, the extras. My answer would be a +8. Whoops. I hope that helped you some with adding integers. If you or someone you know needs more help with 7th grade math, I'm still just starting out my channel here, but I'll be posting videos throughout on all the 7th grade math standards and also some 8th grade math standards because I teach the 7th grade advanced pre-algebra class as well. So subscribe to my channel. It's Math with Luger. If you're one of my students or a parent of one of my students, I do post classroom updates all the time during the school year. My Facebook for my classroom is Luger's Math Class. And if you need to get in touch with me, you can leave a comment on this video or my school email is ajl4@vigoschools.org. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.